It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris.
And my name is Mike.
And this week, we are getting into that holiday spirit, Mike, with our holiday spirits. We're drinking. No, I'm not kidding. We're not drinking on the show. I kind of wish we were sometimes, but not today. With the first, Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon reviews. We're going to talk about this.
You know, talk about some synergy there. Holiday spirit and a Zack Snyder movie.
Exactly. And honestly, I wish, this is one of the times I wish we got early reviews to watch this, because I would love to watch this early and talk about it on this show. But we'll get into this later in the episode. Echo drops a very violent trailer right before the show, and we're going to talk about what that means.
I have theories.
There are so many theories here. He's only got 5 episodes to theorize on this time, guys, so we'll be fine. Marvel has some new animation series for 2024. We're going to talk about a new announced one and some other now scheduled ones. So we'll give you that rundown and more on today's episode.
Yeah. But Chris, you were telling me you have a top of the show announcement here.
Yes, so we are taking it's a holiday season. Everyone knows next Sunday is Christmas Eve, so we'll be taking it off to do that. So hopefully everyone has a happy holidays and a Merry Christmas. And I'll leave you with this message. Oh man! And guess what? You've all been whammed. You've all got whammed on today's episode of Superhero Slate. You've been whammed.
This is brand new to me.
Mike didn't know about this.
Chris is like, the funniest part about this is just you preambling it to me before we hit record. You're like, just to let you know, Mike, I'm gonna wham everybody. I'm like, excuse me? Wait, what? Just like I got wham queued up on my phone. I'm like, I don't understand. Please elaborate. He's like, it's a thing. I was like, oh, it's like Rickrolling. He's like, you don't know about getting whammed? I was like, no, I don't. But I welcome you.
Now he wants to get whammed. He wants to get whammed so hard, and he did. So
it sounds like the goal is you want to see how long you can go without hearing the song.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to let everyone know, I heard mine in November, so my entire year was ruined very early on. It's fine though. This song doesn't offend me. I think it's funny, so to me it's just a hilarious kind of thing.
The second best part was you going, I can play 8 seconds of it. I looked it up.
Yeah.
We can't get swarmed by the record labels if we only do 8 seconds.
That's right. Also, a couple other things. If anyone gets anything cool this holiday season, do let us know. Share it with us. We want to know what you get. I'm excited to know if anyone happens to get that Avengers Lego tower that I didn't buy.
Oh my god, I saw it in person.
We were at the Lego so beautiful, isn't it? It's...
Last weekend, I'm like, oh man, it's sick. And my advent calendar this year is that Marvel Lego holiday advent calendar.
They'd be so good to put them on the tower, wouldn't they?
Like I keep opening them, and I'm like, there's a part of me that wants it. Also, a part of me like, well, where do I put it? Because I'm a Lego person. This is one thing that I've found out. Traditionally, I've not been somebody that's received very large or grandiose Lego sets until somewhat recently in my life. And they're almost kind of exhausting. If you can't put it together in one day, I think it's almost a little bit too much for me. But I'm always a person that likes to disassemble my Lego projects and put them back in with my collection, because I like to build whatever I want with my component parts. So I look at it, I'm like, oh wow, this is awesome. Okay, I have to take it all apart eventually, because I'm not here building statues and mausoleums. So that's the anxiety that at least I'm saving myself. Detaching all the pieces later on.
You've talked yourself out of it. That's the important. I want to display it because it's one of those ones I don't want to put it up against the wall, because there's obviously things on both sides of this, right, that you want to display. So how do you get this in something I was thinking well, do I get a motorized Lazy Susan that lives on in a glass case kind of deal? Because my wife has the Disney castle, and I'm like, we have it against the wall on the shelf. I'm like, this is cool, but the backside's even cooler because you can see into the castle, right? It's not like it's a one-sided thing. So I was like, how do we make both of these work? So I've talked myself out of it for the meantime, but
when you see it in person, it's just oh, there's a lot of these translucent glass pieces that you didn't expect. So I was like, well, how much just am I buying clear Legos? It seems to be a lot of clear, but the minifigs are the coolest part. And
get that Kevin Feige figure.
Yeah, I try not to look at the front of my advent calendar box because it's almost kind of like full of spoilers of the Legos that I'm getting out. But like 3 days ago, I opened up a jetpack, and I don't know who it's supposed to go on because with these Lego advent calendars, sometimes they give you extra pieces that, make more sense when you get a couple more days down the line. So I don't know who this jetpack is supposed to belong to, so I have it on I don't know what Wakanda character it is. I don't know if it's like Nakia or, somebody else. But she was unpacked with like hockey, playing ice hockey. So I don't know if that's the national sport of Wakanda and they're telling us through Lego. But I was like, she could use a jetpack. So right now she's sporting it.
That's the beauty of Legos. You can just put the jetpack on anybody you want to at this point. Playing hockey or not.
Yeah, I got a couple more days of that set. Hopefully I find out where that jetpack goes.
Yeah, very, very excited to kind of get some of that stuff. And kind of, I love holidays, and you never know what you're going to get. And I buy myself usually anything I want. So to get something from somebody else, I'm like, oh, I didn't have this, so it's pretty fun. Then also anyone who's got the favorite meals, like again, we're big foodies over here. If you've got food things that you like to eat during the holidays, I'm on a big deviled egg kick right now, Mike.
Okay.
Big deviled egg kick.
Obviously, deviled egg reigns supreme the second half of the year. But what is your preferred like Christmas like sweet treat? I don't want to necessarily lock you down to a cookie choice, but a cookie choice is definitely expected.
Well, you know me, I don't eat chocolate. Chocolate is not my thing. So it puts me in a different kind of I guess area for this. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy a white chocolate dipped pretzel rod, like with like stuff sprinkled over it. It's kind of out there. It's a little different. I really enjoy that. My father-in-law makes this. It's not puppy chow, but it's got like Cheerios and rice, Chex Mix and pretzels, and it's got like a white chocolate mix kind of thrown into it.
No, my wife's family makes that during the holidays, and it definitely seems like one of those dishes that has a different name depending on what geographical region that you're in. But it's almost kind of like a frosting adjacent coating kind of.
Yeah, it's like a thicker puppy chow kind of thing, or it's not chocolate, it's not like powdery. It's like very much like someone drizzled white chocolate all over this stuff and it sticks together. Yeah. And that stuff that's been we got some of that yesterday. That was really good for me. So I can't say it's peppermint, can't say it's chocolate, but like anything white chocolate for me, I usually try to dive into. Mike, how about yourself? What is on your dessert?
For the sweet treat, it's got to be and I don't know if this is necessarily a Christmas cookie, but this is where I've always seen them personally. It's like the peanut butter sugar cookie that you put a Hershey Kiss in the middle of.
Oh yeah,
and
there's that look like little boobs.
There's a magical transformation that happens because the Hershey Kiss, or sometimes you can substitute with a Rolo, which that is next level. You don't necessarily bake that particular piece of candy into the cookie. As soon as the cookie comes out of the oven, you kind of stamp it into the middle, and this magic happens where there's just enough residual heat left over from the cookie. It almost like denatures the candy, so it becomes like biteable.
It's kind of like welding itself to it, but like not like it's not like you didn't bake it and then it didn't melt into it, but like it still merges with the cookie.
Yeah, but now it's like soft. It's like permanently softer now, so you can actually take a bite into the Hershey Kiss or the Rolo. So my wife made some of those this weekend, so I've been going into those. So
we have some ginger. We have some ginger cookies that are they're not gingerbread. They're softer than gingerbread. My wife made they got sugar, powdered sugar on them. I've really been enjoying those softer ones as well. But I'm definitely not. This is not the time to look at the scale or really take care of yourself. It's time to indulge in those holiday time treats that you get.
I feel like the holiday hack here, though, is if you want to make sure that you're getting more from your family or more from Santa Claus or wherever you receive your sweet treats, is you get a life-size stocking that would fit a Na'vi, because they got giant feet, and you can get as much candy in there as possible.
Thank you for this transition, Mike. It's got to be a blue stocking. But go ahead, before we get, if you're listening to the show, don't forget us to like and subscribe. I would say if you come to us from our shorts that we're posting on YouTube and you've seen at least 3 shorts, we've earned that subscribe.
Okay. This is where I have to do a shout out to my brother, who I don't know if my family listens to the podcast. I don't expect them to.
Yeah, we don't put that out there.
If they want to hear my voice, I talk with them on the phone or in like text messages. My brother was chatting with me today. He was just like, "Oh, you made an impromptu appearance at a family gathering last weekend." I was what? It's just like, "Oh, you popped up on YouTube Shorts," and I was like, "No, the whole the extended family saw a YouTube short," and it's just like, "Yeah, that's my brother. He's a cartoon right there."
Yeah.
And so I kind of was scary to me in a way.
Yeah.
So I guess if you were my family, specifically watching me right now, I don't think this would be YouTube shorted.
I'm not gonna cut this as a YouTube short, Mike. No, absolutely not.
But I thought that was
that's pretty funny.
And that just goes to show you, if you want your family to pay attention to you, cut yourself up into a YouTube short, because that's the only way that you get attention.
Make yourself a reel. All the kids are on TikTok these days. But anyway, like and subscribe. That'd be great. And then so let's jump into Avatar, the Avatar world. Recently, we were actually just talking about this before the show. The Avatar Frontiers of Pandora game has come out. To pretty positive reviews. Again, nothing. I think you said nothing. Nobody has to go out and buy immediately. It's not changing the video game world. But if you enjoy the Avatar / Pandora things, I think it's a good supplement for it. So
yeah, it's kind of screaming like a Game Pass game, or I don't know exactly what that's called on, because that's Xbox terminology.
Yeah,
right?
it's
Game
Pass. Like Plus. PlayStation Plus has like 5 different tiers now or something.
Yeah, like this game, 100% is going to be one of those. One of those titles, because it has that AAA feel for sure, but I don't think the Avatar IP is. Well, that's the funny thing. I don't think any film IP is strong enough to inherently drive video game sales, right? Like gamers want GTA, Call of Duty, Halo, these pre-existing titles that are homegrown video game IP.
So I will tell you, normally yes, for the first time in 15 years, a non-Call of Duty game is the #1 best-selling game of the year, Mike. And it is actually
best-selling this year.
Hogwarts Legacy is the best-selling game this year.
Okay. So I would say maybe that's a little bit of a difference. Maybe a game that historically has not been well represented, possibly, and then finally they get a good one.
I think the gameplay style kind of fits the Dark Souls, the Star Wars things, but there's no obviously Hogwarts Legacy movie, right? It's not a tie-in kind of thing. It's set in that world, so I think we are in a trend where some of these things, if done well, could be done that. But I think Avatar, we are in a sea of AAA games this year. This year has been full of video games, right? That everyone wants to play. So Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora. I'm gonna play it, but I'm not paying full price for this game, and I'm sorry to say that out loud, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. The cookie with a little Hershey in the middle. That's the way it's crumbling.
Delicious.
The producer John Landau has gone to say the third movie for Avatar, as obviously we've talked about before, is completed, finished filming a long time ago, and they're just editing. It would normally be out this year. It was scheduled to be out this Christmas, but they pushed it another year to kind of give some space for these event movies. Right? Avatar is now an event film franchise. Based on last year. And the other thing they said, obviously we reported this before, but just confirming that the fourth movie is partially finished because they filmed the intro with the kids at their current age back then, but they will have a 6-year time jump in the universe, and they've not even come back to start filming the rest of the fourth movie yet because the kids have not aged up into that role yet. So when they start filming it, they will be the 6 years older than they should be.
I'm so glad this franchise exists. It's not like everything I want in a movie universe for sure, but I'm just so glad it's original IP. I can't, scrounge the internet for theories of source material that they're using. It's just it's all fresh coming off of James Cameron's dome. And
it's a risk, right? It could be good, it could be bad. We never know until we watch it, but it seems they're the people involved are putting a reverence towards it, oh, we want this to be good. We want to push technology, how we're using it. We want to tell a good story and sell this world. And I think, again, Frontiers of Pandora, early video game, but I could see a lot of these, at the Avatar, like you mentioned, the IP growing and encompassing a lot more. I mentioned to you, an Oculus Quest experience where you get to play as a Na'vi, right? Because that's the premise of the whole movie.
Yeah.
You're putting your conscious in an avatar body.
Yeah. And that would be like fun scale too, because you're going to be slightly larger than everything else around you. Where I would say a lot of VR games are trying to kind of like put you in another world, but maybe you yourself are actually there.
Yeah.
But like imagine being like a little bit taller and you can't quite fit through, you know, the door frames, and all of the human characters are shorter than you. I think there would be some fun scale there.
And bow and arrow gameplay in VR is pretty fantastic, right?
I just love bow and arrow gameplay just in general. I just like love that stealth aspect of it.
So like experience and stuff like that. But I think this is cool. I'm excited to revisit Pandora next year. Again, one of the few 4Ks I picked up this year was Avatar 2, The Way of Water. So definitely look forward to diving back into that. Wink, wink, bad pun intended, Mike. Last week we talked about the Blade video game jumping into our news feed, and the game concept art was released from the company, Mike. We have 3 separate images included here. One includes the first cityscape of Blade, and now this is concept art, mind you, from Arcane, not necessarily final art, but it kind of is giving I would say like a futuristic kind of city
kind of
vibes
like,
to it,
like near future. Like you could see this maybe being the next, like, you know, 20, 30 years. Kind of want to.
It's like a brighter Blade Runner kind of vibe. If I was going to be completely honest, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
It's the griminess, but there's the technology, the floating ships. Obviously we have Blade here. He's got a gun out. He's got a sword. The next image I'm calling the Nightclub, where he's like in a dark alley at a nightclub. Is it a nightclub for vampires? Is there some stealth sections of this game? I don't really know. But that little onion man behind Blade is in every one of these images. So for that, so obviously garlic. It's garlic because of the vampires. So you can check that out. And then lastly, we get to see Blade. It looks like he's fighting like maybe bats, like representative of bats in a subway, while the vampires are on the train in front of him, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah. This is just going to be a fun setting, right? I can't really recall ever kind of being stationed in like Paris for a particular video game that
other than like a shooter game, which is like, you blink and you miss it in their setting.
You're on to the next like world stage trying to defuse a bomb like someplace else. So I think this will be fun.
But it kind of gives me some verticality skill, right? Like he's on top of a building, he's in an alley at a nightclub, and then he's in a subway. So it sounds like you're going to have a lot of different areas to play with in Paris.
Yeah. I mean, I am a very specific type of gamer, so I never try to impose my kind of thoughts and feelings of gameplay onto a game, because you got to sell a game to way more people than just me. But I love platforming, I love traversal, I love stealth, so any of that stuff would be welcome to me.
And I think vampires, again, at least if they take the vampire from the movies we've watched with Blade, right, where they disintegrate into like ash and cinder a little bit, would be pretty cool visual effect as you're kind of tearing through the vampires. So
I mean, I know this is going to be a next gen game for sure, so they're going to be powering everything with like high end hardware. But we saw the trailer, and it has like it's not low poly. That's not the right way to do it, but very very stylized look to it that I feel like actually like a rendering engine would really prefer. So maybe like this could have like very short load times or invisible load screens. Yeah,
I'm over loading screens, Mike. I don't want them. I played Spider-Man 2. I want no load screens anymore, Mike.
Oh my God, Chris, it is so hard for me to go back to Tears of the Kingdom because. I'm just going to use this minute just to get on my soapbox and rant about Tears of the Kingdom. I get it. It's an amazing Zelda game. Everybody loves it. I think it's like IGN's like game of the year.
It's a darling.
I think I did myself a disservice playing this game right after Breath of the Wild, because my assumption was the game dev team would like learn from some of the few annoyances that came from Breath of the Wild and maybe try to fix them. But if anything, Tears of the Kingdom is just more of everything. So if there is one thing in Breath of the Wild that kind of annoys you, it's just statistically there's going to be more of it. So like every shrine that you do, exact same unskippable text prompts. Well, not unskippable, but you have to skip them every single time. You have to let them activate. There's just like a long drawn out. conversations that like don't matter. Like I know they're trying to give like kind of like character and like color and special moments, but it's just like I'm mashing the skip button and I'm just looking for like the important like red text of the next place I need to go. So it's just like some of the parts of the game are so fun and like so creative, but like this game desperately needed quality of life adjustments, and one of those is definitely like loaders. Like there is some long loading, like when you fast travel to places, and going from the amazing fast travel of Spider-Man 2 to the fast travel of Tears of the Kingdom makes me want to tear my hair.
I will tell you, your disservice is actually playing Spider-Man, because you will always, and I will tell this to everybody, have load screens on Nintendo Switch. There's no loadless game, and I play Pokemon. Like the Pokemon's like supposed to be the renderless open world style, and there's still load screens when you go in, the bigger cities and stuff like that. So playing the Switch, you're I guess you're giving it power for portability and gameplay, absolutely. But like,
I guess,
but at the same time, hopefully they do that Nintendo Switch 2 soon, and we can all hop on that board. And they catch up to last generation finally on their games. But maybe I'm excited for Blade. I think obviously you hit the nail on the head. It will be a next gen game, so we gotta have those consoles to play that. But hopefully, the load screens are gone, and then the gameplay is pretty solid all around. So. Check out, we have all 3 separate links in our show notes, so check out all 3 of those links in there if you want to. Deadpool movie, obviously making rounds. Everybody wants to talk about Deadpool right now because it's the only Marvel movie for next year, which is a good thing. But Marvel has officially retitled it the Untitled Deadpool Movie for marketing distribution. So it's no longer officially titled Deadpool 3. My guess is that they're going to come up with a Deadpool and Wolverine, or like we talked about, Deadpool kills the MCU, something silly for Deadpool, right along the way. Maybe Deadpool kills the Fox universe, since we've seen all the the screenshots having the Fox stuff in there. Or they could just call it Untitled Deadpool Movie, because that could be funny if it's the real name. But
yeah, that could be funny. Maybe, I don't know if you remember this or not, Chris, but we were waiting forever for the title of that last Avengers movie, Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
Did they reveal the title in the teaser trailer? Or was like the title also in the YouTube title? Because it would be kind of fun if the title reveal happened at the end of the teaser trailer. So like, I get it for SEO, they want to put the full title on there, but maybe at least for the first 24 hours, they could leave the title, just like Deadpool 3 trailer, Untitled Deadpool Movie, and then because I think Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe would be a really fun reveal to see it like the end of the trailer. So
In-Game was not in the title they did not put it in the title. They were just like Avengers 2024 trailer, whatever, or 2019 trailer. But it was in the end. It was a visual at the end of the trailer, like it was in the actual trailer itself. It's because they didn't want to give it away, because people would just share the link and give it away. But that was. I looked it up. It was December. It's actually, I think I just saw it like a week ago. We are like on the 5th year of the title reveal, and that movie came out in April. So we may be getting a Super Bowl trailer, Mike, with this title reveal in it. Is what I'm thinking. Because it's coming out in July. It's the only Marvel movie. They only have to push one set of commercials. Or the same commercial multiple times. Ryan Reynolds he loves doing his Mint Mobile commercials, Mike. If I had a nickel for every Mint Mobile commercial I saw with him in it.
I didn't realize this, but it makes a lot of sense. Ryan Reynolds has his own commercial like agency.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's kind of started just as like for tax purposes. Whenever I'm in a commercial, pay my company instead of me or whatever. But like he's done, I guess, other commercials for other brands. Where he's not in it, but they're kind of rinsing and reusing like a similar like formula for just kind of like shock and awe marketing, humor,
So I'm guessing again we are in that time of year where Super Bowl is a little month and a half, maybe 2 months at most away. So I'm very excited to start getting excited for that. So I'm expecting a Super Bowl reveal, Mike. Gonna call it today for that.
All right.
Earlier today, John Cena has shared a cryptic image of just the Deadpool leaks. John Cena has not historically been in the Marvel universe or anywhere, but. 2 things come to mind. One is their Peacemaker crossover, right? Because James Gunn is the connecting here. So will they do a Peacemaker shows up in John Cena's, or Peacemaker shows up in Deadpool as like a funny joke, referencing the other universe, or will he be another Marvel character in this? You think?
Oh, that would be funny. Like, how would you? I could see it working in a Deadpool movie as like a one-off joke of Deadpool looking over at Peacemaker like, wait a minute, you're not supposed to be here.
Oh, the DCU, the DCEU was killed kind of thing, like, right? Because that's like a huge thing on the deal.
Yeah, that could be really funny. But also, like, I like the idea of John Cena's like the only big muscly tough guy that I'm really like excited about in Hollywood right now. I'm not saying other big muscly tough guys. The
Rock and Vin Diesel can hear you right now. Don't forget that.
But he's just so fun, and it's gonna be a while until we see more Peacemaker, because I think it's still that Amanda Waller show that's supposed to be happening first.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm missing out on John Cena.
Yeah, and he was recently in Barbie, which is now on Max, right? Was a Ken, a version of Ken as well. Like, he's got a self-deprecating humor. He's not too serious about himself. He isn't like, he can take a shot at himself and be funny about it, right? So even if he could even be John Cena in here. We've had celebrities appear in other Deadpool movies as well.
Yeah, that's true. Apparently, Eagly makes a cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Because Gunn shared some side-by-side storyboards, and he confirmed that the eagle you kind of see with the big animal board shot, the Eagly's in there, which
sure,
it's kind of funny because it's just like, I'm kind of curious if he's like,
same character model.
Here's the actual character model. It's like, just get an eagle. You know, they all look the same.
Yeah. So sharing this image, I think he'd be funny no matter what they put him in, right? Even if it's just him as a character. Kind of deal. So I'd love to see that. So we'll keep you guys posted if we hear more. And then also, fun fact, Deadpool has topped the list of 2024's most anticipated movies. Not just superhero movies, not just Marvel movies, because it's the only one, but overall, all movies, Deadpool 3 is the number one movie for next year. So most anticipated movie for next year, which I think is well deserved. We've been a long time without it, and they're really. I watched Deadpool 2 like a week and a half ago. Had a really good time revisiting that, so I think this is great to be back in that the comedy zone, if you will, of Marvel. So yeah, check out that list. There's some other stuff on there. Guess what was not on there? Madam Web and Kraven the Hunter, Mike. Neither of those were on that list. So we're not even going to talk about the movie posters for Madam Web because they were just so bad. But we'll just know there are movie posters out there for that. In the MCU world, hitting us in January, the first big property in January is Echo, the 5-episode limited series on Disney Plus, all streaming the same day. And a new trailer today has dropped, and it actually says "Viewer discretion advised,"
discretion advised,
which is the what they put on whenever you're watching America's Most Wanted or Cops or whatever the shows are with violence, stuff like that. So they are really. We were talking about this before. They are really just trying all sorts of marketing for this to see which audience it hits with, I guess, because there's probably going to be a lot.
Like, listen, I get it. This is going to be darker than some of the other Marvel stuff, more violent. They've just started trying to teach their user base to use parental controls. Don't let your kid accidentally watch this one. I get it. You kind of gotta make it a point that this is more adult.
And I think there's legalities. If it's over TV 14, you have to say certain things. But yes,
but this is totally a marketing gimmick. They are playing it up like no one's business. They're like, how are we going to get people excited about this? Tell them there's going to be violence. There's going to be blood. They highlighted an entire
it looked like a Daredevil fight
scene.
It looked like a Daredevil fight scene. Yeah.
And then I was telling Chris, this is the first time in a long time I've ever heard a narrator in a trailer. And it's like, you're going to want to see this violence, blood. You got to watch Echo because it's hardcore. It was just so like that is what it felt like I was watching. So
yeah,
I almost kind of laughed too because they were building it up like this epic event. And then it says all 5 episodes, like 5 episodes, like it's this huge monumental thing. Like blink and you miss it is 5 episodes on Disney Plus. So this is not a criticism anyway. I just think it's really funny. Like, we got to try something. What's going to work? Let's make the most intense trailer.
Well, I think one of the things a lot of people complain about. I hear from regular people, like, I don't want to commit to more than. If it's over 6 episodes, I don't want to commit to it, right? Like I've tried to get people to watch Monarch Legacy of Monsters. They're like, okay. I'm like, it's on, Apple TV, so you can wait till it's done. They're like, okay, how is it, is it a couple episodes, 3, 4, 5, 6? I'm like, well, it's 10. They're like, oh. And then they just shut down. They're like, I don't want to commit to 10 episodes. Like, that's a lot of time for hour-long things. So I'm excited to kind of see what this is, what it does. Whether it's good or not remains to be seen. But an all-in-one kind of deal, we've not had that before. And is 5 a better number than 6 on some of these Marvel shows, right? To keep the story tight. I could not tell you, but that's going to be our first thing. I think it's like the first week in January, right? I'm going to have to click on this to view the trailer because it's probably going to tell me January 9th, which is a Thursday. So they have moved it up the day before. So that's the other thing. January 9th on Disney Plus. So I'm going to put that in the show notes. So if you're worried about watching it on Friday, you can catch it on Thursday night, but I'm not going to watch all 5 episodes Thursday night for sure. Moving on, Disney Plus dropping new content for us this week, Mike. Season 2 of What If starts December 22nd, so that's coming up around the corner. Pretty excited to see this. I've heard the animation was improved from season 1, like not changed, but like improved drastically. Maybe with the extra time they've had to kind of refine it.
Yeah. I could also see, it's What If was the very first kind of animated show that they kicked off. You got to figure out your pipelines, how smoothly everything. Where's your your bottlenecks and everything.
And one of the episodes was even complete or delayed, I guess, to season 2, right? Like they weren't able to even hit their deadline with the original release. I think it was a COVID animation show. Is that what they? I guess when they kind of did a lot of those. I'm excited. They released the episode titles, which we've already kind of confirmed on the show here. But I was looking at the Christmas Day episode is What If Iron Man Crashed into the Grandmaster, but on Christmas Eve you can watch What If Happy Hogan Saved Christmas with your family. Yeah. So
Chris, let me run this past you because we were watching Christmas movies yesterday. And we were all, obviously fawning over the Muppets Christmas Carol. Everybody was really digging
you light
it.
The lamp and not the rat. Just remember that.
It's great. It's a perfect movie. But we started thinking, it's a shame because that new Muppet project was just canceled. The Electric
Mayhem.
Was it the Electric Mayhem? Yeah. So we were just like, what is it going to take to reboot these Muppets and let people care again? And I think we've even talked about kind of like the secret formula on this show for the Muppets is like they like to skewer, they like to be satirical, they like to parody, and I feel like there's nothing more right for parody, talking about Deadpool here, than like superheroes. So like, what I feel like if it's Muppets can be pirates, if they can go in space, like why can't they also get superpowers for a movie? I think that'd be really funny. You could have cameos from Avengers actors, and maybe they could just play themselves. Like it'd be really funny to see like one of the Muppets get punched off screen. They fly and hit a wall, and then they look up and like Robert Downey Jr.'s there. He's just playing himself, and he's just like, "Sir, can you help me?" And he's like, "Oh no, I'm over that stuff." Like it's like there's so many things that they could do.
And the Muppets are inherently you can beat them up because there's no blood, there's no violence, right? They don't get harmed. They literally bounce back. So absolutely, I think Muppets. The TV shows for Muppets are not where the revival is. If I'm going to be completely honest, I think I know this. You know this, right, Mike? The TV shows, they've tried 2 different ones since the last movie, and nothing has stuck. And if you look at, there's 3 eras of Muppet movies. The original 3, and then there's Christmas Carol, Treasure Island, which are the 2 everyone knows, very familiar. Then there's the more recent ones, which are okay. So I think yes, you need to do superheroes. I think there's maybe even an idea is there a Fast and Furious with Muppets kind of thing?
Oh, I like that.
How can we? I don't want them to turn into scary movies where they're skewering them too much. But how do we take some of these bigger things and do that? Maybe we even go back even simpler. Maybe we don't do modern. Maybe we go back and skewer some of the stuff because Disney owns a lot of stuff. They can mix and match their copyrights from that. Maybe. Is it the Rescuers being revived but with the Muppets kind of deal? So there's so many things they can mix and match, classic or modern / contemporary along the way. I think they need a movie.
You could kind of just do maybe a general kind of fantasy Disney princess style movie where you kind of mash up a couple different ideas and concepts, but you play in the fantasy world, and you could do a superhero world.
A Lord of the Rings but Muppets would be hilarious.
Come on, Hollywood, you can't. Because I'm starting to get a little worried, right? Because we are getting more and more younger generations that have not been properly exposed to the Muppets. So I don't want them to kind of die on the vine.
Well, so they are. So. I will tell you, the Muppet Baby show has been huge on Disney Junior. Just to let you know, the CGI animated one.
That's good.
And those that actual the merchandise with that has been even bigger. With that, I was at my father-in-law's yesterday. He has a little dog. His little dog actually had a super, like a Kermit in a superhero toy that he played with. But it was like a baby toy they bought for the dog because he's a smaller dog. So, like, the superhero thing is there. But, like, some of the stuff is still alive, thankfully. But, like, they need to tap into some of this other stuff. And kind of, like, remember, I have them on record. Like, when the Muppets did... records with John Denver. I have 2 separate Muppet John Denver vinyl records, Mike. Okay, why are we not doing more Muppet sing-alongs with people? So, I think there's a bunch of options. We had the Muppets Haunted Mansion. I think that was a fun skewering, but like kind of still niche, if you will, along the way. So yeah, I agree. There needs to be more of this. I forgot how we got on the Muppets. It was the what if. We were talking about Disney stuff, Mike. Good Lord. You got me going there for a second. But I've linked the episodes in there for what if. What if the Avengers were Muppets? That is exactly what the what if episodes need to be.
Please.
So there it is. Season 3 of What If also confirmed to be in progress from the team. So it sounds like we are going to get those 3 seasons we've theorized about for several years now. So great, as long as they continue. Like, again, I think my problem with the first season, Mike, and then we all have heard me speeches, it just didn't do enough to vary on it. They're like, well, what if Sharon Carter was, or not Sharon, but whatever, Peggy Carter was Captain America? Like, they didn't do enough differences. Give us the differences. Let's see what the real what ifs are. And I kind of want to see what the payoff is for this one, right? We got that tease with the Ultron at the last one. So what is the big one on this one at the end of the day? X-Men 90. Let's jump into this other stuff we need here. So 2024, Marvel announced some new animated projects and some release dates. So X-Men 97 will finally hit Disney Plus in 2024. Mike, we are on the cusp of this show to return. Are you going to revisit X-Men 94 beforehand?
I'm really curious if this is where,
or 92, whenever it was.
Like, I'm curious if the rubber is going to hit the pavement on this one, right? I'm not trying to pick on X-Men here because I love the 90s X-Men. We all do, but I'm curious how strong, like, really is nostalgia truly. And I just started thinking about this recently. I was listening to a podcast where the hosts were kind of running down the history of SWAT Cats, that show back in the day. And obviously you can't compare SWAT Cats to X-Men, like, either in like reception, quality, length, all totally different. But the creators of SWAT Cats for a while have been like trying to pitch like a reboot, bring it back. But like, I barely think there's even enough nostalgia. Like, who's going to watch that, right? Like, I think me and like 2 other people that I know personally know even what SWAT Cats is.
That's a very niche kind of thing,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm not saying 90s X-Men, is niche, but like at the quality and scale for a show like that, I'm just kind of curious, is the nostalgia kind of play, is the nostalgia well going to run dry at some point in time? And I feel like maybe the first signs we start to see it might be with some of these kind of like cartoon revivals, right? I mean, I know this is not the barometer for success always, but I don't think I'm gonna get like my wife or some of my super close friends to watch the X-Men 90s.
Yeah, but I think the difference is they know what X-Men from the 90s is. If you said, is this X-Men, and showed them an image from the 90s, they would know what that was. And I think that pays off a little bit more than just if they watch it or not. Because
I think just strategically they have to meet the audience where they're at, right? Everybody who's going to watch this day one is all in their 30s and 40s, right?
Yeah. So
I think it has to be more mature. But it was always kind of mature to begin with, so that's a good start.
Well, and it's continuation, which is the other good part. Right? This isn't a reboot. This isn't a reimagining. This is a continuation of that. So the characters are there, and most of the voice actors are returning. So it's got me, excited. I would say the biggest thing, and I disagree that the nostalgia thing will ever wear off because it's always cyclical. I just think the breath has been taken out of the room because we've had to wait so long for this.
That is true.
We've had to wait for years. It feels like 5 years for this to come out. and the toys are landing, the merchandise is already landed. All this is out in the market already, but where's the show to go along with it? To me, I think the X-Men, especially the Jim Lee designed X-Men, are timeless. Like, everyone knows what they are. They're iconic when you think X-Men. So I don't think that'll be a problem. But boy, I'm just exhausted talking about it. When will it just happen? Show me the animation. Show me a teaser. Stop telling me it's coming out and just let it come out and give us something to look at. So I think that's what I need the most. And maybe they'll. I don't know if they have this on Disney Plus, and this is probably a bad representation. Have they upgraded the old ones to 1080 yet to HD on Disney Plus, or are they still the native resolution or fake 1080? So I'd like to revisit it, but we'll see if that crosses a bridge there. A new animated series was announced this week, and I say new, and I use this term loosely because I think we've theorized / reported on this before, but never given a title. But it's called Eyes of Wakanda, an animated series based on the Wakanda War Dogs. Is coming to Disney Plus in 2024. So for anyone asking, this is a different art style than the What If series, so do not be concerned it's going to look the same. But we have talked about the Wakanda spinoff series for a while, and I think we had several reports several years ago that it was animated. So this is the confirmation that the Wakanda spinoff series is not live action; it is in fact an animated anthology series of sort about the war dogs of Wakanda.
Yeah. That Wakanda, kind of expanded universe that was announced a few years ago has really started to change, right? It was going to be, it was Ryan Coogler? Was he technically like spearheading all of that when it was announced?
And I think he's got his hands on this, but it's not the same layout it was a couple years ago.
Yeah, I feel like it's not necessarily, indicative of maybe what they thought the quality was going to end up being. I just think so many things have happened. Like, this is the problem that we talk about a lot, where we're always excited to hear things announced, but, there's been so much turmoil in Hollywood, like the last 4 or 5 years now, that everything has just changed from when they make these announcements. Like, the whole landscape has changed.
Every year it's a different thing to deal with, and you're like, well, what's going to be delayed, what quality is going to suffer because it wasn't delayed, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and you lose momentum too, and you got to remember people in Hollywood are humans as well. So Ryan, I'm not trying to say that this is what happened, but theoretically Ryan Coogler was maybe really amped to really expand this whole Wakanda universe. He was on board, ready to hit the ground running, and then all of these delays came up, COVID, strikes.
Well, I didn't even say
it. Maybe he's a different person now and wants to do something else.
I 100% disagree. I think the death of Chadwick Boseman has derailed all of their Wakanda plans.
Yes, that's true.
COVID or not, the loss of the one iconic figure between two movies just totally ripped the rug out from under everybody. And without that, I think even though the second movie came and went, it was very much it's a good movie, unlike most other superhero movies. You just don't have that steam like that. Again, I talk about air being sucked out of a room. His passing, the air sucked out of the room, right, for everybody. You're like, what do we do with this? Is it still there? They didn't recast him, so they're kind of just floating on. What's her name? I can't think of the actress's name. Letitia Wright.
Sister.
Yeah. Who, went through her own, COVID issues of, being a vaccine denier kind of thing. And then we had COVID, and then we have Bob Chapek ruining everything. And then we had Bob Iger saying cut back on things. And then again, there's writing strikes. I don't think the writing strike would affect this because this would have had to been in production a while ago to make it right. So but there's just so much, and you're just like, oh, what do you do? How do you get stuff even done with that many things working against you? So
the moral of this, I feel like we had a clear picture, and then that picture is not clear anymore.
Right. We knew there was going to be a Wakanda spinoff. We thought it was going to be live action. We have an animated version now. That's not saying the live action isn't coming. But this was I would say a welcome surprise to hear some different stories in the MCU that are not, I would say they're inconsequential, I guess, at the end of the day. So it'll be fun to revisit that because I think Wakanda does have the culture. I would not be surprised if eventually one of the Disney parks opens up a Wakanda section in one of the Disney parks.
That'd be rad.
Animal Kingdom could use some extra life next to the Pandora section for that. So absolutely. But yes, so Eyes of Wakanda animated series coming out to 2024 on the streaming service. The other big news is the Spider-Man freshman year animated show has now been retitled Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and will arrive on Disney Plus next year as well. So we talked about Spider-Man freshman year. There's supposedly still the second one, Spider-Man quote unquote sophomore year, but it's the same universe, same art style, same everything. They just retitled it to Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I don't like either one of these titles, but that's fine.
Well, yeah. I mean, I felt like freshman year was indicative of the original promise that this was going to be like Tom Holland's freshman year of high school, but then things changed and things changed again and changed again. So this might be a little bit more accurate.
Well, I saw that there was never any promise that it was very much like people assumed calling it Spider-Man freshman year was Tom Holland, but it's always been from when they announced it, like this is a retelling of Spider-Man in a different universe, if you will, a parallel universe. But I just don't. Freshman doesn't tell me what it is. Like, you know, we saw the artwork. He's been Spider-Man apparently in this universe, right? Because he has all the different suits and the different villains already. So like, the idea is like spectacular Spider-Man obviously takes from the comic books. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is from the comic books, but it's a long title. Like, can we get a better one? Can we get a better title in here for this? Like, is it, you know, Marvel's Spider? Or do we just call it Marvel's Spider-Man? Right? Like, or I don't know. I'm not in a title thinking mood right now. But we are going to get this next year. We've seen the artwork. We've seen the concept art. I'd like to see the animation coming this. We do have again Charlie Cox returning to voice Daredevil and some other actors. So they will have some similarities to the MCU at large. But we have raised up our our shows from next year. We have one movie, Deadpool 3. We have 3 animated shows, X-Men 97, Eyes of Clown, Spider-Man freshman year, on top of the 3 live-action shows, which are Echo, Agatha, the Agatha show, and what was the other animated or live-action show next year, Mike? Boy, I feel like I'm missing something here. We got to pull up our superhero slate, release date. I'm trying to think. I don't think it's Ironheart. Cause I'm thinking Star Wars in my head too. It's not Ironheart. 2024, Deadpool 3. Maybe it is Ironheart. Maybe it is Ironheart next year, Mike. So, we'll see how this goes. Because Daredevil is not happening next year, right? We've all come to that realization. That's for 2025. So, maybe it is Ironheart finally. So we're gonna be seeing a different kind of scope on Disney Plus next year. A very, very, very seems stripped back one. And, a lot of spaces in between releases. So we'll see how that affects everything. Some other news coming into this: Spider-Man 4, Mike. This is some hot rumors here at the end of the week, but the movie is rumored to have Daredevil and Ant-Man as supporting characters in this.
Ooh, I like. They're basically giving me what I want in the next Spider-Man video game.
Yeah.
Of Spider-Man palling around with some other heroes. This could be a fun dynamic because every time we see Spider-Man with these other heroes, it's in an Avengers movie and it's like large scale. The universe is at stake, so it would be funny to kind of just see them, trying to get some problem solved, and it's just a fun little duo or trio like that.
Yeah. So from what the rumor is coming out, and this is as of today, is that this will kind of be a street level version of Civil War, if you will. Where some of these lower level characters will be kind of against each other or not. The rumor is that and this again, everything always changes, so don't hold us against this, but that the Kingpin will become the mayor of New York at some point in this, right? And outlaw vigilantes because he's very mad at Daredevil at some point. So you'll probably have people who are for the law and against the law coming out to each other. And Ant-Man, despite his adventures in a quantum realm, has always been more of the street level guy, right? This guy on the street, if you will. We have Spider-Man, we have Daredevil. Who else are we gonna? I don't think there's anyone else I can think of come to mind out of this, right? Like
I mean, I suppose they could use this as an avenue to maybe introduce some other. I mean, maybe this is where Luke Cage pops back on the scene, or Jessica Jones,
Punisher. Like, I know that we heard the Punisher kind of coming back into this as well.
Soft relaunch. Then maybe you just bring back every kind of Netflix hero in a Spider-Man movie. I mean, man, talk about like that's a good bill of goods right there. Yeah. Getting them all in a Spider-Man movie. And that's where like we just finished playing the Spider-Man game, and he's an active hero. He's got lots of things to do because he's got to balance being a hero and his real life. So,
and I'd love to see his real life.
The city's got to be bustling.
I'd love to see his real life post Doctor Strange, right? Like he doesn't have Tony Stark's support. He doesn't. No one knows who he is. He's living in that apartment, following the crime. So I'd love to know what his life is and how he's handling that. I think this is also a good kind of opportunity to not have not people with powers who are not like you mentioned world ending, right? This is like small stuff. Spider-Man, he is in these big things, but he's also known to be on the level, if you will. I was trying to think here, what do we do with this? Like, what other, how do we introduce some other characters? But we don't really need to, really, at the end of the day. Maybe Kate Bishop. She's in New York, right? From Hawkeye. She'd be street level vigilante. But we don't need, I don't think we need the overstuffed kind of, I like Civil War. We built up to Civil War. We earned it. But I don't think we need to introduce a bunch of characters who've not had a lot of screen time all at once, if you will, for it. So I think this would be a good time. I hope they kind of get something on the level soon and do that. I was thinking, I don't know, I was thinking of the villains from Spider-Man 1, Mike. Like there's like Hammerhead, and then there's that guy who showed up in Spider-Man 2 who can't be poisoned or killed. He's got the gray skin.
Oh, Tombstone?
Tombstone, right? Like these characters, like are these kingpins, he's bringing in his heavy hitters for the first time rather than the heroes.
Oh, yeah.
Because we've got some of I guess New York is known for its mob stuff, mafia stuff. So maybe he brings in some street level heavy hitters. Do we need Bullseye so soon? Again, probably not. You think?
Oh yeah, I forgot about Bullseye.
Bullseye, Elektra, even, right? Elektra's kind of in that vein of, if you have Daredevil, you have an Elektra. Some people mention Cloak and Dagger, and I don't think we need them yet either. They don't need to be over here. So, but yeah, anyway, opportunity. Sky's the limit on Spider-Man, right? And when you put some people in a Spider-Man movie, people are going to watch it, whether it's good or bad. So we'll see that. But speaking of bad Spider-Man things, I've been waiting to talk to you about this all week because Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark was a play that ran from 2011 to 2014 on Broadway, and I believe killed several people, or at least very much injured them horribly.
Now, was it a play or was it a musical?
It's a musical, but it was on a play. It was on a stage. It's not a movie.
Yeah,
I just couldn't
remember. Is there iconic singing?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Because Bono and the Edge did all the music for it. Like you can go one of the songs is actually pretty good. It's nothing against the music. The production sign and some of the crazy shit in this, but like people were falling off the wires like into the crowds. Like even South Park has parodied this. Like to like that's how big it has hit. The mainstream stuff. So, are you familiar with the blacklist in Hollywood, Mike?
Yes, the blacklist, which it sounds counterintuitive because it sounds like, oh, that's the list you go where things are bad or you're getting like blackballed.
And it's not the TV show, The Blacklist, either. So.
Yeah, the blacklist is where you want to be. That's where all the hottest. Most sought after scripts are kind of like are percolating.
Yes. So it's a place where up and coming writers or, really, really good scripts that have not been purchased directly by studios or, I guess original scripts, right, have been made. Exists. So there is literally a movie script based on the horrible production and release of Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark on the blacklist called Boy Falls from Sky. And it has made the 2023 blacklist for this.
Man, that's not necessarily always indicative that it gets purchased or made. A lot of times the goal is to make it to the blacklist just so the writer gets some notoriety and gets picked up for other jobs. But I do kind of like this idea of like, oh, if this is like a maybe not mockumentary, but kind of like humorous documentary, but you're dealing with death, so maybe really not so much. But yeah, I'm trying to think who makes this, right? The first thing that pops into my head is that
A24
yeah, it could be the documentary that was made around the creation of the Emperor's New Groove, but it never got released because there was so much there was so much drama behind the production of that movie. So obviously, any studio that wants to, remain friendly with Disney, probably not gonna maybe touch this. Sony could be the same, but it could be like an A24, it could be a Warner Brothers,
It could be one of those situations where Sony's like, well, this is a chance to make money off of it for the first time ever. They could do that. I mean, so I just looked up. I wanted to know this because I looked it up before and I forgot. Of the 1,000 screenplays, a little more than 1,000 screenplays since 2005, at least 440 have been made as theatrical films, Mike. So it has a 50-50 chance, pretty much, of being made if someone does buy it. Other movies include Argo, American Hustle, Juno, King's Speech, Slumdog Millionaire, Spotlight, The Revenant, Descendants, and Hell or High Water. But I have a desire to watch this play, Mike. I've always wanted to see this. I did not get to see it on this run, and it closed down. So I feel like I'm missing a Spider-Man cultural event that only a select few people got to see.
Yeah, I know. What a bummer.
And this movie would be an opportunity to make, I guess, a chance to get to see some of it if it gets made, or maybe if they can include some of that. I would love to see. I know they film these plays, Mike, when they do them. I want to see a release on Disney Plus of this play. I want to see Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark and watch it in all its glory. But
I mean, at least if they did like a documentary or a docu-series or whatever about it, at least I got to imagine the funding would at least garner some clips, go out to find some people that made some bootlegs,
Yeah, exactly. I would hope that and maybe it brings a resurgence so people can see it. I gotta pull up the Wikipedia thing because I'm like, I gotta remember. They were gonna open this in Las Vegas, but Vegas actually was like, this is too expensive. So I was gonna see who was it if there was actual cast injuries. I'm sorry. It looks like maybe they weren't killed. Maybe they were just horribly broken his feet, broken both wrists, so on and so forth. Good Lord. So this sucks, but I don't know. I'd like to see this. We're in a renaissance for musicals, right? Like people are filming musicals and events, concert events, and putting them out on streaming services. So maybe there's a chance someone has a good recording of this that we could see one day. But we'll keep you posted if this gets turned into a movie. No chance right now, but if it does, we'll let you know. Superman Legacy. Nicholas Hoult has been confirmed as Lex Luthor, as we partially reported on a couple weeks ago. So James Gunn has said, yes, we have finally done this and hired him. I think that's fine.
Yeah, I was looking up. I think I was Googling this earlier this week, and the Hollywood seems to love to report false things about this Superman movie, and James Gunn equally loves to shut them down, because I just came across tons of casting announcements that were all via the Hollywood Reporter, reputable sources out here in Hollywood, and he would be like, that's not only is that not happening, but it hasn't even came up in conversations, so it couldn't even be something the mail person heard out in the hallway. So it's like, oh man, he's being real strict about this. Yeah.
Well, it's one of the things, people, he has previously worked with the guy who played Lex Luthor on Smallville. What is his name?
Mm-hmm.
What is that actor's name, Mike?
No, I can't recall his name.
Yeah, so he's been several Guardians of the Galaxy movie. He's good friends. Michael Rosenbaum. He's good friends with Michael Rosenbaum, who's played Lex Luthor. They're like, well, why didn't you hire him to play Lex Luthor? And he's like, well, he's already done Lex Luthor. We don't need him to come back and do it again. We want someone new who fits this.
Yeah, and of course all the headlines be like, "Oh, is this a multiversal? Is this going to be a Smallville sequel?" It's like, you got to avoid all that nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously post DC EU after Aquaman comes out in theaters later this week, you've got to separate yourself and create this. So Nicholas Hoult, I think he's a great actor. We've talked about this before. We went through this before. All his movies, he's a great actor. He does good stuff. I don't think it'll be a problem. But we are coming up on a year and a half away from Superman Legacy. A lot of weight on this movie, right? A lot of pressure, a lot of expectations. I'm excited to get some confirmation and see kind of how this kind of turns out. So we'll keep you guys posted. If anything else comes out of this and is obviously true, we try to pull all our sources from verified things rather than the rumor mill, but sometimes they do slip through. But this is confirmed from Mr. Gunn himself. Lastly, Rebel Moon, Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon, Part 1, A Child of Fire, I believe is his first one, right? The Scar Giver is the second one. Is releasing December 22nd on Netflix. So you can celebrate on the 22nd, or wait one day for your Festivus and air all your grievances out on the 23rd if you want to.
This almost didn't make it into the show notes this week. And I was really confused of when this movie was coming out because I kept seeing like headlines of like, you can now see Rebel Moon earlier, like early advanced screenings now available. Then the critics' reviews started to come in. I was like, wait, did Rebel Moon come out this weekend? And usually, as we see, like the pattern before is studios are excited to get the movie out early, if the reviews are good. So I ask you, Chris, why would they do this when these reviews are awful?
So because Zack Snyder's got to get his Twitter bot army to say the movie's good for him.
I guess
earlier. So Rebel Moon, a Child of Fire. The critics have received it, and the first reviews come in. Obviously, the first place everybody goes, Rotten Tomatoes. We'll talk about that in a second. As of today, I think are the first actual fan screenings in the short theatrical run as well. So those are kind of coming in as well. But the initial reviews were around 9% for Rebel Moon, but they are now sitting at a solid 23% of the critic reviews.
That is. I mean, obviously, Rotten Tomatoes has its own statistical definitions that you kind of have to run down in your head of like, this isn't indicative of a grade rating. This is just a percentage.
1 out of 4 people are enjoying themselves is how you gotta look at it.
But it's just like, you can't look past numbers this steep. Now, if like the first Rotten Tomato reviews from the critics came out as like a 59 or like a 61, just kind of barely rotten. It's like, okay, there's something here. I could kind of maybe give it the benefit of the doubt and wait to go see it. But like, how do you improve past a 23%? That is rough.
Yeah, it's fairly low, and just kind of looking at pulling up again what's in theaters right now. Wonka is competing against Wonka this weekend, which opened at around an 84% for that. I believe was it Migration? I don't see it. Was that The Boy and the Heron? What's that studio that makes that? That's out.
Miyazaki's latest film.
Yep, that's out. Say at 96%. Godzilla -1 got an expanded opening in the U.S. this weekend.
That's killing it with the ratings.
98% everywhere.
That movie has been recommended to me by every single person I run into.
The lowest 2 rated movies I'm seeing here, Mike, that are sitting here are Wish at 48%. And Napoleon at 58%. So
and you can just watch Napoleon on Apple TV. You don't even have to go to the theaters, right?
To
watch that one.
I don't think it's out officially yet, but it might be close to that.
Yeah.
And then Animal, but I don't think that's an American movie.
Yeah, like I was telling Chris at the top of the show, I was like, but on another hand, why do I want to watch Rebel Moon more than I want to watch Aquaman 2?
Yes.
I know Aquaman 2 is just factually going to be a better film in every way.
Right.
Zack Snyder is, if nothing, consistent. He always disappoints me in the exact same way, so I know exactly what I'm looking out for. But like you told me, Chris, but how big is the train wreck going to be? That piques my curiosity.
You don't. Yeah, train wrecks. Like Aquaman will be serviceable. I feel there's enough good people involved that it's not going to be like a complete shit show at the end of the day, right? It's just going to be a middling film that everyone did their best on to get done. But like at the end of the day, it's the last DCEU movie. It's going out with a whimper, not a bang. A little. Again, because I was using water puns earlier, like a little splash rather than the tsunami. So. Fine, that's perfectly fine. But Rebel Moon, Zack Snyder can't even secure a normal theatrical studio right now, right? Like no like big company said, "Hey, make a movie for us, and we'll put you in theaters." Netflix said, "Go ahead, make a movie." And not only did he make a movie, he is making a director's cut, despite the fact there are no producers over him over this movie.
Oh my
so
God.
my understanding, and I will tell you, I will say this is my understanding. That Netflix says he had to make a PG-13 movie. So his cut is a PG-13 cut. The director's cut will be unrated. I say, why even care about the PG-13 because you're a streaming service? Like you obviously on Netflix show other adult rated content. There is no need for you to get a PG-13 rating here.
Yeah, it's so weird. It makes me wonder when these reviews were trickling out, the conversations bubbling back up again about Snyder on Netflix. It made me think back. Remember all of those grandiose ideas that were supposed to come out of Army of the Dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be these anime spin-offs, this whole expanded universe, and I
haven't heard anything. There was a prequel movie, and I didn't watch it.
We were supposed to get the origin of those robot zombies with the blue eyes that you see in the background of the casino for like 2 seconds. And don't worry, that'll get explained. And it's just like, it feels like somebody at Netflix really liked Zack Snyder, loved all the social engagement energy that this director had, said, let's put this chunk of budget on him. But now the winds of streaming are changing. Netflix has already said that they're not going to be going this big anymore. So I got to imagine after Rebel Moon Part 2, unless things totally change, I think Snyder's probably going to be done at Netflix.
I also don't think he can say he has all these things done and they probably greenlit it, but like I think he has maybe product ADHD, if you will. Like he was very, very, very quick to jump from Army of the Dead to his own stuff. Right, Rebel Moon, like very quickly. He doesn't even talk about Army of the Dead anymore. So why would we want to talk about it? So they were probably like, well, if you don't talk about it, we're just not gonna make it yet. Like we'll just wait for you to catch up with it, because Rebel Moon now has like there's 2 movies and an animated anime thing and like a video game supposedly. But I'm not here to rag on Zack Snyder for making movies. He's making movies and getting paid. Fucking awesome. I wish I was making movies and getting paid, Mike. No matter how good or bad the critics thought they were. But I sent you a picture of like beating it feels like we're beating a dead horse over and over again when one of his stuff comes out, because people are going to talk like, oh my god, the Snyder fans are going to love it, but the audience at large, what will they think when they watch this movie?
My prediction here is, everyone is expecting some sort of gigantic chasm between the critics and the audience, and it's going to spin up all of these new headlines of like our critics out of touch or whatever. I don't think the same size of Zack Snyder army is there anymore. I think they've dwindled. I think they'll still be loud. They'll still be vocal, but there ain't going to be no banners flown at Comic-Con anymore for him,
When they released the Snyder cut of Rebel Moon and it's just as bad, like they can't say it anymore kind of thing at the end of the day.
But it's gonna be 9:16. You can watch it all vertically on your phone. Well, it's gonna be great.
That's great, because I thought I was gonna have to whip out my old tube TV to watch the 4:3 ratio of this movie again on black and white. But I'm just kind of looking at the review titles. I always pull up top critics. I don't pull all critics. I pull up the top critics. It says another Zack Snyder movie that deals with the same old issues, quality production values with scatterbrained, incoherent storytelling. I feel like a broken record. That's how I feel. like exactly. Like if I couldn't put it into a better thing, some people, I would like to see. What I would like to see is really, if I could wait, I probably can't wait, Mike, because I want to watch this. Is see both of these movies together, the part 1 and part 2, because part 2 comes out in just a couple months, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like a couple years out. I would love to see these together and see if it makes a better watching experience. If you will.
There was one kind of, like you were saying, top critic review that I read that said, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. The second part is not out yet. This part 1 is not a complete movie. It sounds like this is one of those sins of films that like this is not a full narrative. Mm-hmm. I know some people have that criticism of Spider-Verse Part 2. But it does have a full arc for Gwen in that movie for sure. But it sounds like that is entirely missing in this first part of Rebel Moon. Mm-hmm. And maybe everything comes full circle in part 2. But I highly doubt it. Yeah,
the one thing I see in everything is that his tendency for slow motion shots just drag on the pacing. So boy, am I not looking forward to all this slow motion I'm about to indulge myself in a week. But it'll be there. It'll be same old Snyder, just different movie. I think someone said they were trying to, like, maybe it was him in some interviews. He's not doing as many interviews as I thought he would, if I'm going to be completely honest for this. So that's interesting. But talking about a director's cut of Sucker Punch, or like an unrated cut of Sucker Punch, I'm like, I liked Sucker Punch when I watched it, but I didn't know what I was watching back then.
That narrative is so not going to be accepted in 2024 or whatever.
It's not the narrative. He wants to do more slow motion, I'm pretty sure. He just wants to add more act. Like, that movie is a video game at best, right? Like, it looks like watching a video game. He just wants to do more slow motion action scenes. We got to get Bjork's Army of One song back in the play of the radio. So how do we do that? We put out another Sucker Punch. I would love to watch it all together, but I fear I'm just gonna be shaking my head and be like, "Oh, I told you so," the whole time I'm watching this next week. How do you feel? I mean, I think the other thing is, if anyone wants to come back with a review, let us know. We'll come back. We are not here next week, but we'll be back the week after. We can probably come back with a review.
Maybe we do a double header spoiler cast. Put Rebel Moon and Aquaman in one kind of omnibus end of the year spectacular.
Yeah, we can take a look at it, because we're ending on 2024 with a whimper rather than a bang, if you will. So
man, I feel like ending 2023 with Aquaman and Rebel Moon is like the perfect culmination of everything that's happened in this year.
Yeah. So yep. We'll do that. But yeah, if you guys have any thoughts on Rebel Moon when you watch it next week, again, it's on Netflix next week. You don't have to go to the theaters to watch it. It will be all there. The first version, or you can wait for the director's cut whenever that's coming out. Good God. Let us know. We'll be more than happy to entertain your thoughts. But Mike, that is the show for this week. It is not the last show for the year, but it is the last one for the next 2 weeks. But if people want to know what you're up to, what you're doing, where they can find you at, my friend.
Yeah, they can read my webcomic, liferewardsrisk.com, and just keep being awesome. That's what you can do. Chris, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
Find me on Instagram, Valdan87, Valdan, or video games of the same name. Send me your Christmas dishes. I want to know what you're eating into the holidays. Thanksgiving and Christmas are very similar dishes. If you have something different you do for one than the other, I got to know. I want to know what you're eating because I'm very food motivated for that. But if people want to know about the show, where they can tune in for our end of the year recap and some of these extra reviews in a couple weeks, where can they get that at, Mike?
Well, apparently, all you have to do is go watch YouTube Shorts, because that's the only place that people are in my family watching me. But head on over to superheroslate.com. That is the best place to find everything we do here at the show. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you'd love to listen to find podcasts. We got merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you, like Chris said. It's going to be I'm calling it. It's going to be a Rebel Moon spectacular. We're going to have a great time, no matter which way the needle drops on Rebel Moon. So come back in 2 weeks. And if you want to be a super fan of this show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we'll see you guys in 14 days.
Wow. That's like a fortnight. Oh, did someone say fortnight? No, I'm kidding.
Gosh.
All right, we'll catch you guys then.
Bye, everybody.